Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Viewers, today we are going to discuss two important aspects of Russia-Ukraine war in a very short video, and these are related to use of unconventional means in conventional warfare. Uh, Russia-Ukraine war has developed on a trajectory. It appears to be going very, very slow, but there have been a lot of destruction, especially on the Ukrainian side. And now there is an apparent frustration which could result into Ukraine crossing certain red lines. The two aspects that we are going to highlight are: one, why Nord Stream pipeline, which connects Russia through Baltic Sea to Europe, was blown up, and who did it and why. And the other is possibility of use of chemical weapons by the Ukrainian forces. We have recently seen a video which has come out in which Ukrainians are boasting that they'll be using chemical weapons and grenades launched through drones and quadcopters. So this is very, very serious. Now the first aspect of this video is the blowing up of the Nord Stream. Basically, as I mentioned, Nord Stream was a pipeline which connects the Russian gas to Europe through Baltic Sea. This was of course built by joint venture between Russia and Germany and the European countries, and it provided a huge percentage of gas to Germany and Europe. This was blown up a couple of weeks back, and now there's an article by Seymour Hersh which was also pointed out by Mr. Gonzalo Lira, who is again a famous and very popular YouTuber who talks on international affairs and security. Seymour Hersh basically believes that this was done by US Navy SEALs through a special operation in which they were conducting an exercise in the Baltic Sea, and it was basically to blame Russians since the perception to be built was that Russians are going to choke the gas supplies to Europe. Main thing to be asked is whether Russia would damage its own pipeline and whether Russia would scuttle its own economics, the wartime economics. So this is a very big question. So this leads us to what could happen in any future war between two countries or two alliances. Possibility of hitting of gas pipelines, oil pipelines, internet cables, submarine cables, and even some choke points could be choked, which affects the supply of oil and gas. So this is becoming a new precedence. This also affects the ecology, the environment. So I am sure the blowing up of Nord Stream has affected marine life within Baltic Sea, which also needs to be seen. The other aspect is the possibility of use of chemical weapons by Ukrainian forces. As I mentioned, the current state of the phase of war, we have seen a lot of urban warfare. Because of conurbation effect, there are cities and there are towns which are linked to that. So capturing of towns and cities is becoming a meat grinder on both sides. But any side which is losing could start crossing certain red lines, which is very, very dangerous. Now this video was also discussed by basically Colonel Scott Ritter in a video in the program Redacted, which is run by Clayton Morris, and I'll just referring it to because I saw this news on that this could be setting up a new precedence. Now if you look at the escalation ladder, the NBC or nuclear, biological and chemical warfare, generally chemical warfare are on the lower rung of ladder, and then you have biological, and then it could be nuclear weapons. So in case you cross the first red line, there are chances that the other side could go nuclear, which could be very, very devastating. Now why Ukraine is perceiving it or trying to create a perception? There could be two reasons. One, they are not been able to defend the urban centers like Bakhmut. They lost Mariupol last year with heavy fighting, and now Bakhmut has become a prestige point, a matter of prestige between President Zelensky of Ukraine and President Putin of Russia. And President Putin has assigned the Wagner group, which is headed by Yevgeny Prigozhin, to capture it at all cost. and Zelensky is ordered his commanders to hold it at all costs. So there's a lot of fighting. There is a possibility that Bakhmut will be encircled in coming weeks, and the Ukrainian forces will be cut off. Now, in order to break through, probably Ukraine could think of using certain chemical weapons, which could be very, very dangerous. As far as their capability is concerned, I think both sides have enormous potential. Russians have definitely more. There were reports of some chemical laboratories in Ukraine which were captured by the Russians, so there is a possibility that Ukrainians could be contemplating use of this, or it could be just to develop a perception, a matter of fear, so that when they are withdrawing from urban centers, it is facilitated by this perception. Whatever, I think the important moot point which comes out of today's video is that how non-conventional or unconventional means are utilized by powers that be to win or to damage the other side, and what are the reasons which compel a state, a nation, or group of nations to cross certain red lines. That will be a moot point for our next discourse. Thank you very much.